Hello, I'm going to continue from where we left off in the conversation between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp.
I did start a physical fight.
Yeah, you did, so I had to get the fuck out of there.
Yes, you did. So you did the right thing, the big thing. You know what? You are admirable.
She mocks him again, just continuing to push that shame onto him to not face up to her own responsibility so she doesn't have to absorb it.
Every single time. What's your excuse? When there's not a physical fight, then what's the excuse there? You're still being admirable, right? Just by running away? And you can sit here and call me names, but you get called a name, and what do? That's the last insult. You're a baby. You're a hypocrite. You don't do anything that you actually do. You expect from people what you can't give them.
So she's saying she expects him to stay around and be committed to working things out with her, even though she's not committed to that because she's being physically violent towards him. So that's not a commitment to trying to work something out with somebody.
What are you doing with this?
I'm giving you a Xanax in case you need it.
Oh, thank you.
Seems like it's worn off.
Yeah, it probably has.
But I haven't even been able to have like a fight with you beyond in any real talking kind of speaking context in so long, because anytime anything goes wrong you split. I feel like it's your first thing. And it's unnecessary. It's not always you're splitting because there's blows or because there's yelling or anything. You split most times when I'm still speaking in this volume and nothing has been thrown or hit or anything. No, I can change certain things that are hurting you.
She finally blames herself for her actions. But then she says,
but I know I can't blame myself entirely for going straight to the fucking finish line, the first sign of stress yesterday. Because of how it's been lately. Like since Australia. And I've been on the road with you. I haven't been working. I don't know what else I could fucking do.
Since Australia, we've been on our honeymoon and we had a great time, other than the fact that we had a fight in the train, which was physical.
Yeah.
But then we had a fight in San Francisco. But I thought everything else was great. You're saying you've been pondering this since Australia.
No, the splitting.
Me splitting?
Like the lack of, I even said this in Australia. I said I feel like it was so good for so long. We'd talk about things. Remember we were allowed to have fights then. Remember we allowed ourselves to say, hey, you did this or you took... Remember we would even have a little argument and it was okay. It was an argument. I don't know what the fuck has changed. I can't figure it out.
He should be okay with having arguments, which sounds reasonable because people will have arguments in their relationships. That's very normal. But in this case, what does having an argument actually entail? It entails her screaming, throwing things at him, hitting him, punching him, kicking him. And she's dressing it up as if it's just an argument and that he should learn to deal with it. So she's manipulating him and trying to guilt trip him.
And I don't mean to criticize anything that you do, but it's so chronic with you, the changes in the personality. It's like sometimes you get these clear months and you're this different person and it's wonderful, you're this, and then sometimes I'm like struggling to stay connected with you, struggling to have 5 minutes with you, struggling to connect with you, struggling to have my friendship with you, and I can't fight with you. It's like, but they're so chronic that I have to go, what the fuck has changed? What thing has changed? Do you not remember how different? You were so different. You allowed me to...
I allowed you to what?
Present, and you were so present, and we were allowed to fight. We were not even fight. We had arguments. I mean, you've given me this time here on the couch, and it's amazing that we can actually talk. But I never feel that safe. I constantly feel like you're about to fucking split, and I don't want to feel like that. You made me feel meaningless.
You threw me out of the bedroom.
Yeah, why wouldn't I if I know that you're about to split? I mean, that's what I'm saying. You
I wasn't
always
about to split.
You always split, so that's... Why wouldn't... I mean, I do blame myself for my actions
I was
yesterday,
laying in
but
bed
I also
watching
don't
television, man. I was laying in bed watching television.
I fucked up last night. I'm not going to defend myself.
Oh, finally.
But I also can't blame me going to the finish line, and that's always where you drive it.
She's taken it back and she's shed the responsibility again.
The luxury of us just being normal human couples, like as soon as you get mad, you take off on a train. It's something because it's not a chemical, it's strong.
No.
It's one day you were different.
It's the same.
And it hasn't been back.
It's the same changes that are happening in you. It's exactly the same. Huh?
I really wish that was the case.
That is the case.
I have always allowed you to fuck up and be a human. I've always been able to have a communication with you. The difference is you make it so we cannot even communicate at all if it's anything negative. You go, you take off on a train, you don't get off. You don't come back around. You don't honor when you say, I just want a few minutes or I want a little time, but I'll be back. You don't assuage the anxiety and the stress that gives me and makes things worse with me by saying, hey, we will, remember Keeper was like, you have to say, I will be back in this amount of time, more or less, and then actually honor it. You have to come back. So I said, oh my God, if he could do that, that would be great. And you never do it. You know, you don't ever honor that. You leave me with way more anxiety, stress, anger, and resentment. But in Australia, for a few months, you were so...
So were you. It makes a difference. I wasn't being attacked.
I'm not. I have not attacked you any different. I haven't changed. I have not attacked you any different. I never attacked you. I never attack you. Just because I have a complaint with something you did is not an attack.
It becomes verbally insulting. It becomes all kinds of shit. It becomes like right at the get-go, yeah.
See, that's the problem. If you see any criticism as a verbal assault, of course we have this problem. We're going to have it next time you do. God forbid I have a problem with something you do.
Again, she suggests that he isn't able to perceive what's happening. So she's gaslighting him. She says that she just criticizes him slightly and he perceives this as this big attack. So there's something wrong with the way he sees things, when in reality it is a big attack because she goes crazy. She doesn't offer some sensitively put criticism, but she starts yelling at him and becoming violent.
We're going to be in this situation. Are you ready for it?
Say it nice, man.
What if I'm hurt? Am I not allowed to be hurt and be human? That's the thing. You're not allowing me to be human then. You take my humanity from me.
You're talking about...
That's pretty impressive that he has managed to do that. He's taken her humanity from her. So he has been made into the persecutor again.
Telling me I'm not allowed to feel things and I'm not allowed to react because to protect you.
Last night happened because I was at Isaac's for too long. Next door.
It happened because we could not
And
communicate.
for what? For what? What did we gain from this fight? From me just, the horrible fucking act of me being over at Isaac's for just too long for you.
I did not cause this because you were at Isaac's. You lie to yourself. Go ahead. You're just lying.
Then why were you upset last night?
This did not happen because of Isaac's. This happened because we're fighting. This is not about Isaac's. We actually haven't really even talked about that. We spent 2 seconds on it because it's not about that. It's bigger than that. The point is I voiced a complaint. It could be anything. You could say, baby, you did something to hurt me. Which you did and you admitted.
Why didn't you say that?
You admitted that you would feel that way too. And
yes.
You said sorry for it. That would have been great, but I could not feel safe saying that to you because I knew that your reaction would very likely be a defensive explosion and an attack and freak out and get up and walk away and all this stuff. So I wanted to avoid it. So I took an Ambien to try and go to sleep without even having to speak to you about it because I was really hurt that you fucking left me stranded. You didn't think about me. You didn't text me. All the things that you apologized for.
So she's come full circle. She's gone from saying that's not what the argument was about. It wasn't about the fact that he was at his friend's house for a while. It was about something else. But then, because that is what it was about, she ends up admitting it, but only when she first explains that he had apologised for it, which means it was definitely something he'd done that was bad, and it was his fault. So he has to be to blame in order for her to admit that that happened.
You already apologized for it. Can you do me one small favor and not take it back?
I ain't taking it back.
Thank you. Stop defending it, please. You already apologized for it. It meant a lot to me. Do me one favor today. Don't take that back. This isn't about Isaac. You know it. This isn't about Isaac. You know it. It is about us not allowing.
Is it about me showering?
No, it's about you not allowing me to have any problems with you or be upset at you or mad at you or even hurt by you at all. You do not allow it.
Again, this is projection. She is the one who doesn't allow him to be hurt by her. In other words, she refuses to ever be the perpetrator. She doesn't admit responsibility when he talks about her punching him and kicking him, lying, screaming, throwing things at him. She doesn't ever agree that she has been the perpetrator. You know, even when she agrees to these things, she blames him or she mocks him, or she just tries to pretend that they haven't even happened. So she has turned the tables, put him in the role of the perpetrator again, and somebody who just won't admit how hurtful he is. This is a really common tactic from an abuser to tell somebody that they are doing the exact thing that the abuser's doing, and it serves different purposes. One of them is that it can really infuriate somebody and confuse them. So that means that they're going to be just a bit thrown and in a lower position of power, because when you throw an accusation at somebody and they think about it and get confused, you're in the more powerful position. Another reason that somebody would do this is because it stops them from having to confront the truth and see themselves as a persecutor and feel their shame. So they, as long as they accuse the other person of doing something, they don't have to face it in themselves. And some people do this unconsciously. They can genuinely think that somebody else is doing something to them, but in almost every case, that isn't true. Dr. George Simon has worked with narcissists for over 20 years, and he says that they know exactly what they're doing, that it's not something that's unconscious, that they don't really know whose fault it is, but they know it's the other person's fault. But I think that it is a reflex reaction. So in one respect, it's not 100% conscious because it's an automatic thing that they do. But if someone were to ask them, and they were to be honest, then it would, they know that the other person isn't doing what they say.
If you could have just said in a kinder way, a nicer way, like, listen, I feel fucked over by what you fucking just did.
You wouldn't freak out?
No, I would say fucking, what is it? Like what? And fucking too long at Isaac's, you said you wouldn't be that long or whatever, you shouldn't. I feel stranded, I felt fucking left, whatever. What am I going to fight with that? Why would I get mad at that?
Notice he's playing the role of the parent. He's explaining to her about her own behaviour. And this is a trap that a lot of people fall into when they're being abused. They think I sort of talked about this in the last video about how someone who is being abused can think that if they can just explain something clearly enough, then the other person is going to understand and suddenly develop all of this insight and awareness into their own behaviour. But what he's doing is he's falling into this trap of being a parent instead of looking out for his own feelings and thinking about his own boundaries. He's trying to help her to manage her own behaviour.
Oh my God, the first thing you do is I don't have to text you, and I mean, it would be shitty. It would be a fight. It would be terrible. It would not be.
It was a fight.
Yeah, it was.
It was a fight. And it shouldn't have been. And so then the Isaac thing was the impetus, because that was a lot of what you said today.
It was the impetus, but it's just a small example of a bigger thing. You know it's bigger.
Okay, so it's a bigger thing. It's coming from back in Australia.
No, it's like Australia, we were allowed to fight. You can't sit here and tell me I can't feel things and I can't voice them to you. If we say to each other, you can't get mad and you can't be hurt by the other, then we're living in fucking motherfucking fairy tale.
Look, then of course nobody is able to and shouldn't hold shit in. But we can go to the other person and say, look, man, I feel fucked. I feel shit. I feel this. I feel that. And then we can assess how you feel. Well, fuck, I guess, oh shit, I see what you mean. You know, I see what you mean, I get it. Or, fucking, I don't understand what you're saying, and you're wrong, and you're the, whatever.
But it's going to be the latter, and it's been the latter for months now, where that's your reaction, is not ever admitting wrong, ever doing anything wrong, ever admitting it. You always go straight to you're wrong, fuck you kind of thing. You don't say fuck you all the time right away, but I'm saying
always.
This is what she's done since the beginning of the recording. Her reflex reaction is to deny responsibility and flip the responsibility back onto him.
Like for months now, it's been, I can't voice any complaint. I can't say I feel fucked over. I can't say I'm hurt. I can't say you fucked up. I can't be mad at you. I can't be hurt. Nothing. Because I'm the bad guy. Oh, well, I'm always fucking up, and, you know, like, you're always on me, and I'm always fucking up, and, you know, like, getting mad at me for being honest with you. We've had a million fights where I'm like, I was honest with you. I told you how I felt. Maybe if you were me, wouldn't you feel bad? Yeah. Okay, well, then, the fuck? We had these few months where we actually could even feel things and fight, and it was an argument. Even if I'm hurt, I'm still trying to do that because I see the bigger picture. You lose the bigger picture every time. And if you want to stay married to me, you need to figure out if you think you can. If you're going to lose sight of the bigger picture and only be my husband when it's easy, you're only going to be there for the ups, never the downs. You're only going to be there for health, not sickness. Every time it gets hard, you lose the big picture and you can't think about anything else but breaking up, divorce, fighting, splitting, running away. If you can't be the one to come around sometimes and see the bigger picture and know that it's not worth fighting for days, if you can't do that too, we need to walk away. I don't want to walk away. I don't want to end this.
But do you not think you'd instigate the same thing?
I'm not talking about instigating, I'm talking about ending.
But ending, you don't...
I'm talking about ending.
Yeah, but you don't always do that.
You're never the one coming to me and saying, let's not fight anymore. You're never the one saying, come, just get into bed, let's not go to bed mad like that. On the plane, it was me. In Toronto, it was me. It's always me.
On the plane here from Rio,
you don't want to admit it.
You were losing your marbles.
I'm
the one who came to you and said, let's calm down, please calm down. And you were blaming me.
Think about it.
Because your flight was going to get in late and you wouldn't be able to have time before your thing.
You ditched me last night, and I understand. how shitty I understand my partner. I need to know what we need to do different. I need to know.
It's got to be done with your mind and your heart.
What do we do different if I have a problem? You
Tell
need
me.
to tell me how to tell you different if I'm hurting you. You need to let me be able to be mad. Sometimes you're going to make me mad. I'm a human. I cannot live where it's like...
Well, then it's the same thing goes for me then. You're going to have to allow me to get mad.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, but I get mad and then you start fucking yelling.
So this is again really narcissistic, because she wants him to stick around and be there while she gets really angry. So he's saying, well, yeah, I also want to be able to express anger. And I think what he wants is to be heard when he does. But it seems that she wants unconditional love, the kind of love that a baby has. And that is, that's how a narcissist thinks. That the other person should love them unconditionally and be there for them unconditionally, no matter how they behave. So, but you can see how imbalanced this is, and the amount of energy she's expecting from him, the amount that he's expected to deal with in comparison to what she's prepared to give him.
I don't have to start yelling. I think I start yelling once it gets fucking heightened. I've gotten a lot better about that. It's just only... I only start yelling when it's fucking hour 11 and we're really in it.
Yeah, you haven't gotten better about that. Otherwise we wouldn't have had 3 physical fights in the last month and a half, 2 months.
I'm talking about the yelling.
She doesn't deny being violent 3 times in 6 weeks.
Let's both pay attention to how we talk to each other. To respect each other.
We're not going to do that all the time. Sometimes we're going to be shitty or whatever.
Of course not.
But we make a promise to each other about the rings and the divorce.
No rings, no divorce.
We promise each other. Please, I want so bad to feel like the marriage I
promise you.
Worked so hard to make happen. It's like meaningful.
Don't talk about making the wedding happen. Talk about the 4 years we've spent together, please.
Yes, but I want to make... I have those 4 years no matter what. But I fought for that wedding. And we had that wedding. A beautiful wedding. For what? If we don't... I want to... Like, it means something. That there's some...
Yeah. It did mean something, and it does mean something. And I didn't get married to you to fucking... Just fucking, 17 more fights and it's fucking over with. We got married, I knew the fucking fights weren't gonna stop, but I thought maybe it would curb them a little.
I'm guessing that he hoped that when they got married, she would feel safer and more secure, so her reactions wouldn't be so extreme. Because she has this massive fear of abandonment, if he showed her how committed he was to her, maybe then she'd finally get the message and everything would be okay. But the problem with that is that her being so insecure was nothing to do with whether they were married or not. It was to do with something that's deep down inside her. And whether it was him or somebody else, this same issue would come to the surface.
I want the security back. I freak out. And cannot make normal decisions, calm decisions, or ones from the heart where I'm thinking of you more than me, when I feel like you're splitting on me all the time, when the marriage is on a rock. I make the same mistake about throwing our marriage around. I won't do it again. I'm not going to do it again. Okay?
Please. I'm
not, I promise. But there's something so anxiety provoking and scary and malicious and really just turns everything over when you split all the time. Please, if you really don't want to fight and you're not just trying to hurt me, which sometimes it is that, if you really, really, if you really love me and you do care about this, please find a good way to do it, one that's respectful. You can tell me that you are. I need to know that we will be able to talk about it, because the problem I have is when we don't communicate, it comes into me, builds up in me, and becomes cancer in me. It got worse every day when we were back from Toronto. It got worse every single day. Not better, worse. Until we spoke about it. Until Whitney's birthday, and we talked about it. Then it was okay, but I don't want to resent you.
I don't want to resent you. I don't want to not trust.
You know how many times I've chased you out of the elevator in the hall? I gotta stop doing that. I'm not nitpicking. I don't mean to be focusing on something, but if it's a major thing to me, and it is a major...
If things get physical, we have to separate.
No,
we have to be apart from one another. Whether it's for fucking an hour or 10 hours or fucking a day. We must. There can be no physical violence.
I can't promise you that I'll be perfect. I can't promise you I won't get physical again. God, I fucking sometimes get so mad I lose it. I can fucking promise you I'm,
So this confirms that she's not prepared to take responsibility for herself. She's admitted that she thinks she's going to continue to be violent. So she's admitted that she gets out of control when he leaves. So that tells us a lot about her and this fear of abandonment. She can't contain herself. She can't think clearly anymore. But rather than take that as her responsibility, that's not what she's going to do. And another thing is that she's not accepting that she also can't control herself even when he is in the room. She has these really angry outbursts that are out of control. She thinks that he needs to be the one to stop leaving her without her changing anything, without her changing the behaviour that causes him to want to leave. So she wants unconditional love, no matter how she behaves. And that's the only way that she can feel safe, is to have this unconditional love. And that makes sense in terms of what her past may have been like, because maybe she didn't get that unconditional love when she was a baby, and when it's normal to have unconditional love. You know, a baby can scream as much as he or she wants to. A toddler can fling things at his or her mum, and they should still receive unconditional love. But for people who don't get that at that crucial time, that it stays with them. This need stays with them into adulthood. And she wants him to stop the behaviour that makes her violent. So in other words, she's blaming him for the way she gets so angry and out of control. And this is a really crucial point in their conversation, because what she's admitting shows us that she has these really extreme emotions that she can't contain. This sudden bursting into a rage can be common of some people who have borderline personality disorder, and then the other side of that is to be incredibly afraid and just really upset when somebody can't tolerate that rage and goes. Because then the abandonment fear comes to the surface. But I want to make two things clear. One is that not everyone who has borderline personality disorder will react like this. There are lots of very different presentations of it, and I'm going to talk more about borderline personality disorder in other videos. Another thing that I want to make clear is I'm still not saying that Amber Heard has borderline personality disorder, or that she has traits of it, just because I mean, in terms of the traits, I'm just saying that because we're only seeing one context, so we can't be sure of what's happened before, what's happened in the past in their relationship. So she wants him to be able to cope with all of that and just stick around and be there anyway. So she's putting him into the role of being a parent, and she's completely neglecting to consider his feelings, what it would be like to have to experience this rage and to have to experience somebody who's out of control of themselves and might throw a pan at you or kick you or punch you. She's not interested in his experience at all. She just wants him to put up with this, and she's not. I don't sense any shame in her when she confesses that she's probably going to carry on being like this because she just can't help it. So this is the most crucial point of this conversation, because now we're going to see how he responds to this.
Do everything to change. You didn't even come home last night. I feel like I have nothing to cling on to. There's a semblance of marriage or commitment or stability. I mean, if I can just get up and walk away and spend the night somewhere else.
You obviously can.
Yeah, but believe it's done if I do that. That's it's not marriage.
We talked about it. You know why I left.
I do know why you left.
I'm saying now that I won't do the same thing. I mean, that will not do that. I will not fucking leave until some rational decision is made. If it's the end, it's the end. If it's the fucking, if we can keep going, we'll keep going. But yeah, I promise you. I promise you. I hope you can trust me.
Saying that he hopes she can trust him again. Again, before this time, he was able to hold on to reality, and now he is going along with her reality. That it might be hard for her to trust him. He's a bit untrustworthy because he's been leaving the room. He's allowing her narrative to be real when it isn't. It's based on her denying reality and avoiding shame. So now he's saying he hopes that she can trust him again, when in reality, he doesn't trust her. He doesn't know when it's next going to happen. And she's just told him that he has no reason to trust her because it's going to happen again. So instead of looking out for himself, you can see how codependent he is, because he is... he's enabling her behaviour now.
I don't want any loopholes, it's okay to leave, it's acceptable to do this, or it's acceptable to say this about like splitting or breaking up or leaving. We should fall asleep together every night. Ideally, never mad. I'd love to say,
of course,
you could promise that, but I don't know if it's possible. I'd love to strive for it.
Yeah, you weren't ready for that last night, for sure.
No, I fucked up last night. I'm really sorry. It's affecting not just me, it's affecting our marriage.
She admits again to being at fault, but so far, every time she's done this, she takes that away again.
It's affecting how I trust, how I resent you, how I like you without the fight being happening.
No, I know, but when
I'm not trying to rub your nose in it. I feel sometimes like you omit something, you acknowledge it'll be beautiful, and then you'll go back on it kind of in your in the vocabulary after, and then I feel like, wait a second, is he taking it back? You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, but like I said before, man, there's not I haven't cornered the market on that. When you start the fucking yelling, there's, you know, it fucking gets crazy. It gets fucking crazy. And that makes me not feel, for lack of a better word, safe within the relationship. Understanding of, oh well, it's just nothing. Because if it keeps going, if it's always sort of there, then I worry. Yeah, I fucking worry about the marriage. I worry, how much longer can I deal with this? How much longer can she deal with this? Fuck, man. So I've had the same trust issues. I've had the same disappointments. I've had the same, maybe not to the degree you have. I'm assuming so, but yeah, man, when you start fucking honking, you know what I mean? It's pretty.
Call it out. Call me out on it and help me.
I will try.
Help me, because I might not be.
Will try to help you.
Why should he help her to behave? So he is agreeing to being cast into this role where he helps her with her own behaviour. So he tries to help her to contain her own emotions. He's now being the caretaker, the parent, and so again, it's this codependency where he is allowing himself to be the victim of her behaviour. And she isn't taking responsibility for it. She's asking him to do this for her, to contain her own emotions for her.
If I try to help you and I can help you, fuck would I leave? If I try to help you and I can't help you, say, baby, I'm taking an hour, I'm in my fucking office.
Yes.
If you want to talk, you want to come get me, otherwise I'll come check on you in an hour.
That would be really helpful.
All right?
And I promise you I'll leave you alone for that hour. I promise you I'm not going to freak out.
I just want you to have your time to be able to calm down, or my time to be able to calm down.
But it really helps if you give it time. If it's not just
say an hour.
Even if you just say it will, I promise to resume this. I just need to know that we will talk about it. Otherwise, I'm dealing with cancer. I'm dealing with something that just festers and gets worse and worse. So you have to realize that in that kind of situation, a few minutes is fine, but then after a certain point, it becomes way worse, and I become way harder to reason, to rationalize with. That Kipper can tell you, he says he's the same way. That's how I work. And you work a very different way. When you meet in the middle,
So she admits she becomes harder to rationalise with the longer she's left alone. And that tells us two things. First of all, that she loses control of her thinking. She can't think straight when she's left alone for very long because she finds it so upsetting and so overwhelming. And that again sounds like borderline personality disorder, at least a trait, because of how extreme that emotion is of being abandoned, feeling completely empty, that someone's gone, left her, she is unloved, she's unsupported, like a kind of black hole. And where someone who didn't have this issue would understand that the other person would need to leave when you become violent, or even when your anger is extreme, and that they'd leave because of the behaviour rather than because of you. It's not abandoning you as a person, but she feels that this is extremely personal, and it's the response of a small child who's been abandoned, which shows us, I think, in my opinion, this shows us that that it's the small child part of her that's speaking, which means that she did experience trauma when she was a small child, and so that part of her hasn't developed, and she goes back there every time she's left in a situation like this. She goes back to that small child experience again, and she can't think as an adult. If Johnny Depp hasn't been abusive in any way, and I haven't yet seen any evidence that convinces me that he has been. So if he hasn't been, then I think that this would amount to Amber having some traits of borderline personality disorder. But the thing is, you can't really say that just based on one context. Because, for example, if someone is in an abusive relationship and they behave as if they have borderline personality disorder, that they still wouldn't actually necessarily qualify for a diagnosis, because they're reacting to abuse. So they're not being their normal selves. They're behaving in an extreme way because they're being abused. But certainly in this conversation, I don't see any abusive behaviour by Johnny Depp. I don't know what's gone on previously in their relationship. I haven't seen much about it. What I have seen, I still don't have the impression that Amber Heard has been abused by Johnny Depp. I think that it looks to me, from what I have seen, it looks like there's a smear campaign going on, and that he was set up a couple of times by her to look as if he's being abusive. But having said that, I'm not in a position to know any of this for sure. So I do want to be clear that we don't know what's happened before. This is just one context we're looking at. In this particular context, I don't see any evidence of Johnny Depp being abusive. And if it's true that this is a smear campaign, then Amber Heard is completely undermining the voices of anyone who's brave enough to stand up and say that they have been subjected to domestic violence. Not just women, but men as well. There's a much higher suicide rate for men, and it's generally, I think amongst men at least, it's looked down on to be vulnerable. I think that that's changing now, but there's still too much of that where men feel that they can't talk about their emotions. They can't talk about being hurt and upset because it's seen by some other men as being weak. And there's this, if a man is being hit and beaten up, then a lot of men think that that's something they shouldn't be complaining about to other people, because as a man they should be able to deal with that. But no one should have to deal with domestic violence, and no one should have to deal with emotional abuse. And look at the responsibility he is now taking for her. At the beginning, he was very clear. He could listen to himself and tell her when she wasn't being fair and so on. But now he's taking this role of caretaker. He's saying it will only be for an hour. Why should he say that? If someone's out of control in this absolute rage at you, why should you be in the room putting up with it? And why should you feel like you're only allowed an hour to calm down and to wait for them to calm down? It's not his responsibility to have to set a time limit on it, but he's doing it because she can't cope with it being longer than an hour. So he is again sacrificing his needs for hers. He's ignoring his own boundaries so that she can feel safe. And in order to feel safe, she has to ignore his boundaries as well. So together, they're both ignoring his boundaries. And that's the nature of a codependent relationship.
Yeah. I do understand that. I mean, I do understand all that. But I also want you to understand that, you know, there were great moments of high hopes that it was just all cool. And then, you know, whatever happens, this happens, that happens, fucking, we have a spat or a fight or a fucking blowout. I just want you to know that the way you're feeling about being unsure of us, of the marriage, of this, whether whether you can trust me to be this, or whether you can, you know, or whether I can do the same. I feel very much the same.
At least you have the added luxury that you take for granted. No offense, you do.
What do I take for granted?
That you have the added luxury of knowing that I'm there and that I mean it forever, and that because I show up. I come, I'm knocking. I'm the one who asks to calm down. I'm the one that comes to get you on the plane. I'm the one that comes and knocks at the bathroom door. I'm the one that comes into the house that you've run away to. I'm the one that comes to you and says, oh, this isn't worth it. Let's fight for this marriage or whatever. You have an added luxury that you just are taking for granted in such a big way. You don't know how much that means.
So here we go again. She's admitted that that she's out of control of her anger and so on, but she's also now saying again how she's the bigger person to come and find him each time. So even though she's admitted that she loses it, she's completely out of control, and she's said that she doesn't want to hurt him. You know, that one moment where she finally acknowledged responsibility. She said she doesn't want to hurt him and she wants to change that behaviour. But now she's again playing this role of being the bigger person because she's generous enough to come and find him, when she's the one that was behaving in this completely unreasonable way that sent him running the other way. So when she does take responsibility, it's for a very limited time. And that's very normal of a narcissist, that they can't hang on to responsibility for very long. You know, if they ever get to the point of taking it, the shame is just too much. They have to drop it again. And I think she has worn him down. You know, I think at the beginning he was prepared to say no and to tell her when she wasn't making sense and tell her about his reality. And now she's just because she's taken a small amount of responsibility, she feels she's now earned her right to repeat how he should be the one to be running to her after she abuses him.
I go because I think, fuck, we're screwed. Can't live like this.
What's to stop you from doing that again?
Well, like I said, or like you said, you walk out the door, you walk out the door. That is the same as rings off. It's the same thing as mentioning divorce. There's no talking unless we just want to try to be civil with one another as fucking people who are married. And I hate to talk like, I hate even saying that kind of shit, but yeah, if I walk out again, I'm walking out, and I'll know that, and you'll know that. If you do that, same deal.
I promise it won't explode if we just do the things a little different in the fight. You know, like, don't walk away from me. Do it in a different way, and I promise I won't resort to the same shit. I promise. Okay?
Thank you. What you got?
I was just pausing it. I realized I was about to run out of battery and still rolling this thing.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to put out a video on Monday with some thoughts about why Johnny Depp might have been attracted to Amber Heard, as well as obviously her. You know, she's a pretty attractive woman, but apart from that, why he would have been drawn to a person like her. And then from there on, I'm going to be putting out videos on Fridays. So I've actually already made those videos. So for the next month, they're going to go out every Friday, and then we'll see what happens after that. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.